Hi, everybody. It's Dawn from Out of the Spiritual Closet coming to you with another podcast this week. And this week, I am so grateful and so honored to have a guest with me. I have LeeAnna Jonas, who is a paranormal investigator. So, LeeAnna is someone that I had the opportunity to meet a little while back and be on one of her investigations with. And I had so much fun and I loved her energy. So, I wanted to bring her here so we could all learn more about what she does and how she became a paranormal investigator. So, welcome, LeeAnna.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Um, so officially, LeeAnna will tell you that she is a sensitive, and that's a term used in the paranormal investigating world. I would consider her an intuitive, just based on my spiritual knowledge. But we have different languages and different decoder rings for all the different worlds. So, but overall, she's just a beautiful human being, and she has such a rapport with the ghost, with the spirits that she connects with. So I just have never met somebody that had a way of connecting with the ghost and really humanizing them. How about that? They weren't big and scary, and they weren't unknown entities per se, how you would think of them. These were people, and she connects with them. And so, I could talk a lot. So I will turn the mic over to LeeAnna just to say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself and how the heck you became a paranormal investigator.
Well, I've been investigating since 2010. I resided in Colorado, so I used to go to a lot of the mining towns, and everyone knows where the Stanley Hotel is. That's where Stephen King wrote The Shining. It's not where they actually did the location shoot. It was in Canada and Oregon, I believe, two different hotels. But I went on a ghost, they call it a ghost hunt. I don't like to use the word hunt because even though we're trying to find spirits, it doesn't mean in the same sense as hunting, like shooting animals or anything like that. So I like to say paranormal investigating.
Mhm.
So I went on a paranormal investigative at the Elkhorn Lodge in Estes Park, Colorado. And it was very, very old. There's a team that worked out of there constantly, which is very nice because you get to make a relationship with the spirits that reside there. They gain your trust when they see the same person trying to communicate with them. I use different types of electronics, and the reason being the stuff that's made by some of you that are in that realm, in the investigative realm, Bill Chappell and Gary Galka. They both make, they're both actually engineers, scientists, engineers, and they make electronics so that we can communicate with the spirits because they're energy. Your energy in life, your energy in death, your energy doesn't dissipate, it just goes somewhere else. Whether you stay here and you don't cross over, and you stay in this realm or vibration level, where you ended, your life has ended, or you go on and you come back to visit, once you've gone to heaven, you're still energy. You may not look the same, you may not take the form of what you look like, but you are energy. And some people that say they see orbs, I have to take that with a grain of salt because a lot of people want to believe, and they're in a cemetery and they see an orb reflection on their camera, and it's actually dust because dust reflects, and you're in dirt, so it's going to be everywhere. So when you do pick up energy balls, mostly the ones that we catch that we have tried to debunk, and I always debunk everything. I try to, at least before I say it's paranormal. It'll have like a tail on it, or it will go into a motion where I've actually caught them going into the wall and then coming back out. I've got that on camera. So as far as the energy level, they know how to manipulate my equipment because they're energy, and they suck batteries dry, and that's how they get their energy. Sometimes they can appear They can manifest if they have enough energy. So when I got a taste of that, I wanted to know more about it. I went with this group and they're just like, hey, you're pretty good at this. And I'm like, well, I want to know more. I want to know more. What happened to me when I was 10 years old?
Well, that's where I was just going to go. I'm like, there's something that happened in your
Yeah.
childhood because there is no way you were just walking down the street. So yes,
No,
please tell
no.
us this part.
Oh no. I was with some friends. I was in 10 years old in 5th grade, and we were down in her basement. She had a remodeled basement. And we played down there for hours and hours. She was an only child. She had all these toys, and we would hang out. And we used to get into doing Ouija boards and seances, which I would not want any children to do right now because that can
No,
open
but it
doors.
was a thing
It
in
was
the
a
late
thing when we were younger.
70s.
Yep.
Yes, because
Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't even let one in my house now, but we had one too, and
Yep.
we played with it, and it moved. It moved.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And now even nowadays, kids play with it, and they don't realize it's just not a board game. The intent is there, the intent, and that's what it all is about. The intent that you want to talk to another spirit, and therefore you can open doors to negativity. Any old guy that's walking around spirit that decides to come on in can come on in. Um, so we were sitting there and we had found out that on the news that this woman was a babysitter, a girl actually, I wouldn't, maybe teenager. Um, she was babysitting a baby and she killed the baby and then she killed herself.
Mm, mm.
So we were trying to talk to her, and we all three looked up, and I can still see it in my head because I have a photographic memory. There's things I don't want to remember, but I can still see it in my mind. And it was a white silhouette of a girl in a rocking chair with the baby in her arms and a knife in her hand.
Oh.
And we all three looked up and saw the same thing and screamed bloody murder and ran up the stairs crying. And I never forgot it. Now, one gal is a heavy duty reborn Christian, and another gal I spoke to after 30 years. And she's like, I remember something happening and I remember how scary it was, but I blocked it out, which a lot of people do when they're
Right.
traumatized.
There's different ways to go from this. So one goes to the religion, one goes to denial and block it all, and the other one goes running towards the ghost and the spirit.
So there, as a child, and most people, and I want to tell this to parents, children see things. A lot of people are like, oh, she has an imaginary friend and I gotta have her go see a psychiatrist, and it's not true. Folks, listen to your kids because they're innocent. They can see things we can't see.
Well,
So
they
can
also
animals.
they haven't been conditioned to say they can't.
Right.
So we all can see things. We all have intuitive gifts. We've shut them down for different reasons, but the kids haven't shut them down yet. So to LeeAnna's point, yes, 100%. Your kids are telling you something. They are seeing it because they still believe. They believe in Santa Claus. They believe in the tooth fairy. They believe in
They're
magic.
innocent. Yeah.
They're innocent. So
They're
yes.
innocent. They're not jaded like the rest of us. And I just mean your average person who doesn't have any
Right.
talents or they're not a sensitive or
No developed
clairvoyant.
gifts.
Yeah, they
Everyone's got them, but right, some of us have
rather, yeah,
developed
you open
them.
yourself up to exactly.
Mhm.
So that I knew, and then it seemed like because I knew, more things would happen to me. And this is a lot, and just your average person that has haunts in their house. Once they know, you hear them and you want to make contact with them and you want to communicate with them, they'll be there to do that. Now, whether you really want to go that way or not, depending on who they are, um, especially somebody that has been attacked
Oh
by a
yeah.
negative spirit. There are demonic spirits. There's good and bad, just like there's God and Satan.
Yep.
It's all the way across the board. So with children, they don't know if this spirit's bad or not. Sometimes spirits that are negative will trick these kids into thinking they're a little kid. You know, they might manifest themselves to look like a little kid. You know, you hear kids saying, I saw this little girl with this dolly in her hand, you know, and
Right.
I'm not afraid of her. Now, it could be little Sarah with the dolly in her hand, and it could not be. It could be something that's trying to grab that child's soul. And there are entities that collect souls. That's one reason that I try to stress. I do events at Halloween to try to teach people. A lot of people that come to my events are novices and they don't know that much about the paranormal, or they watch the shows. So I need to educate them the do's and don'ts and the reality of what they're doing if they want to get into this, because people think it's all sugar coated. It's not. There's a
Right.
danger.
Right.
I don't allow children at my events
No.
because children are susceptible to negative spirits because they're innocent, because they don't know how to say no, because that spirit is attracted to them, and it could attach to them. Some do. And then, you hear about the bad things that happen where kids need to be exorcised, you know.
Yeah. And, as I hear you talking, excuse me, and the name of this podcast is Out of the Spiritual Closet. And what goes through my mind, and this is a big push of mine because I do have grandkids now. I've got kids and grandkids, but is educating and helping parents to help these kids. So for me, as a child, my mother, because I am Catholic, if I told my mom when I would go to sleep at night, I would see really low energy images, real low energy ones, and they would be scary. And I'd say, Mom, I don't know what to do. This is a scary thing. And she would have me pray because that's what she had done, and I think that was, in fact, I told her the other day, I was like, I think that was good advice. I think it was a little, excuse me, a little limiting at the time. However, it was good advice. So teaching your children how to put protection around themselves, teaching your children to cleanse their energy like they would their hands. These are things that we don't do in society. We would talk about this and we would teach our children, or, our children around us. But to LeeAnna's point, this is the kind of thing I want to normalize, teaching your children how to deal with spirits, so that you're not just told to go pray the rosary. Though I did tell my mother that was good advice, because you can never go wrong, in my opinion, with that. But there are, there's different things. And I know when we did our investigation with LeeAnna, she reminded all of us when we were leaving or when we were going to leave to take a shower, to rinse yourself, to wash your clothes, because you could bring this energy home. And I like how you called it. You called it ghost dust. Yes, that's so cute. But I never take a shower at 11 o'clock at night. But that night I was in there washing my hair away, and I even washed my sheets the next day in case I missed anything. So I took her serious on that.
Yeah, and that's just because of, I deal with a lot of children in the mining towns, the spirits, a lot of prostitutes, because back then that's what they did. A lot of the people from the 1800s still reside there, because this is an 1800s old town. A lot of the towns in Colorado are like that, the older towns in the mountains. A lot of these kids, I found out, I learned some things from an angel reader back in Colorado that worked with us. And she kind of taught me how to call down Archangel Michael and Jesus and the light to help these kids cross. And if any of them ask me for help, and I have this one thing called an ovulus that when they put their energy in to talk, it shows words in a database. And if there's any kids that say help or light, or, they want to go home, I will try to cross them. Sometimes I think I might be successful because I've had, afterwards, the other spirits say that I did help them, that they did cross.
So yeah,
Sometimes,
can we talk about your
yeah,
equipment? I want to talk about your equipment.
okay.
So you said something in the beginning, and I love that. I have some other equipment that I use that does it too. You said about these are scientific people that develop some of this. And I just love when we marry science and spirituality because that's allowing people to know it's real, right? We do put our faith in science. We've seen it work, we've seen it save us. You know, we have treatments for diseases, we can go to the moon, they're going to Mars next. So science is good. Well, science is actually combining with spirituality now, so that for everybody that needed evidence to believe it was real, it's coming, it's
Yep,
there. So
yep.
can you talk about your equipment? Because it was freaking fascinating. I mean, um, yeah, let's talk about your equipment.
Let me give you some background. The two,
Sure.
I mean, right now, because of the shows, and there's one in particular called Ghost Adventures. Zach Baggins he's like the top dog. I did his side show, which is called the Paranormal Challenge back in 2011. Um, After I started a group, within 6 months, I was on his show. He has Bill Chappell out of Loveland, Colorado, who's an engineer, build all this stuff. And so he gets the latest and greatest, whatever Bill comes up with.
Mhm.
So there's different types. Gary Galka is the other gentleman. And let me give you some background on Gary. He's an engineer. He makes whatever he does in his regular career. His daughter, Melanie, she got in a car accident and hit a tree head on, not too far from their house, and died at 18. So he decided he always had a gumption to communicate with the spirits, but now he really needed to because he wanted to talk to her. They were very close. So he engineered what's called the Mel meter. It's named after her. So we call it Mel for short.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah,
Right.
that definitely
And so he made
needs
this
to be
product,
mentioned.
this piece
Yeah.
of, yeah, just to communicate with her.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I was friends with him. That's not the unfortunate part. The unfortunate part is that he was really getting in deep trying to communicate, which started to open him up to other entities that were just conning him and pretending to be his daughter. And it got to the point to where he ended up with an attachment, very nasty attachment, really bad. I have a medium cleanser,
Mhm.
gentleman friend of mine who tried to cleanse him, couldn't. He's been going to different people and trying to cleanse him. I had to pull away, and Gary, if you're listening to this, I'm really sorry that we were friends. We both I had a stepson who committed suicide at 12, and so we both, and that's another story I'll have to tell you.
Yeah.
He
Yeah, I'm
he aided
sorry.
me in getting into this. But anyway, to make a long story short, the piece of equipment that he made was geared to connect with her, which ended up after years of this one entity decided to trick him, and then it got really nasty. And I had to pull away because I was talking to him on the phone and I felt it come through.
Yeah.
People don't realize this, but because their energy, they can go through phone lines, they can go through cell phone signals, they can go through the radio, they can go
Well,
through the TV.
and that's another reason that we should be cleansing our computer equipment. You should use selenite for your computer, for your laptops, for your phones, for any of the electronics, because now we're not looking at static documents. We're seeing people like this right here, right? And you're get energy does transfer. When we do healing sessions, I do a lot of my healing sessions on Zoom. You will feel the same thing as if we're sitting in the room together,
Mhm.
so yeah, I completely 100% agree with what LeeAnna's saying about that. And if you haven't ever cleansed your equipment, please do so today. Get a piece of selenite. Say, you can do it with intentions, with prayers too, but
Or
selenite's
just
the best. Yeah,
right.
selenite's
Or just take sage smoke. You know,
Sage,
like
yeah.
I tell people that go
Yep.
thrifting in antiques, there's energy on there.
Oh
You're
yeah,
gonna
the
bring, you can bring
antiques.
home stuff. You know, so sage it before you walk, it walks in your home.
Sage, yeah.
And you intend and you say, I'm cleansing you and of all negativity. You're not allowed in my home. I mean, you're the boss. I
Yep.
know there's some people that, yeah, there's negative energy that you can't just shoo away. It takes,
For the most part, though,
for the most
have
part,
we have
yes,
the ability to lock our front doors, just
right.
like we can lock our front doors. Yes, some burglars always gonna, try to come in through the window,
Yeah.
but we still can lock that front door. So is how I would look at it. But yeah.
Yep, exactly. Be proactive about it.
And
Um, but
when
as
we were,
far as, go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No, I was just gonna say we're talking about the equipment.
Yeah, I was gonna go
And
back to
so
that.
yeah, we got the Mel machine.
Meter. The
Mel meter.
meter is the one that reads the megagauss. So megagauss, this is based on, it's called a K2 meter back in the day, and it was actually used and made for guys that are trying to find hot wires in the wall. So
Okay.
they would put it up into the wall, and they would it would beep, like it would say how many megagauss, and megagauss is a reading for electronics for current. So they would put this little thing up and down to find, currents in the wall when they were working on them. So it was based on the same thing. But what Gary Galka did was put a dampening field on this millimeter. So it just didn't pick up all electronics. If it does pick up electronic signals, it's got to be heavy duty, which
Gotcha.
happened to us that night
Right.
when we thought we were picking up, because it went from 0 to like 1.7 and 1.8, and it kept on climbing in this one area, which usually will read EMF, electronic magnetic fields that spirits put out. This is what this is made to gauge. So we went outside to see, because we thought it was on the other side of the wall, because there had been some activity
Right.
from other folks that have talked about it. And I said, wait a minute, see if
She
there's
found the electric
junction
right
box.
away. Yeah, I was like, okay, scratch that.
Sorry, guys. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
right. Good idea, but no. So, she's not just taking what people are saying, she's doing the investigative part of it. So you go in and people have given a story, and then she uses this equipment to validate or to disregard the testimony that's given.
correct.
I gotta tell you though, this was so cool. So she's got this one, we didn't talk about it yet, that one with the antenna and the
REM pod.
colors. What's that one?
REM pod, REM pod.
Okay. And to me, I was when I was trying to describe it to people, you probably have a more eloquent way, but I was like, it was like one of those old Simon games, because it has the colors, but it had an antenna. So this is an energy machine she puts on the ground or in the area, and she's talking to the spirit saying, come on, if you're here and you want help, hit the thing so I know you're here. But this was the cool part. As you would say that, we did have a couple light up that night. I could feel it. I could feel the spirit come through on my left side. I could feel the energy as they were coming through, and she was standing across from where I was at. We were kind of across from each other. And so as she was calling them, I was feeling this. So it is a feeling I would often get in my sessions with people when we are calling on spirit. So for me, it was freaking phenomenal to have it validated. That wasn't the reason I was there, but to feel the energy and have the machine validate it. So even for me who believes, it was like, yes, a scientific validation for this feeling.
And the reason we do that is because, all right, in the paranormal field, our best piece of equipment is ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay? We know what we, right. We know what we feel. We know how our bodies react to the energy. But people will say, oh yeah, you're full of you're just a con artist, blah blah blah, which people think about mediums all the time and psychics. They think that it's fake, and there are fake people out there that do it. They are.
Yeah.
Sorry about this
You're
thing.
fine.
I can't turn off. It keeps on beeping when I get something, and I can't turn it. Won't
You're
go
fine.
off.
No
Anyway,
worries.
so that's what
No
that
worries.
noise. It's not a
It's
spirit.
spirits. It's spirits. Hey, and you forgot to mention me.
So anyway, that's the reason that this stuff is built, because this was all started with shows. The ghost hunters are well-known guys. They're two plumbers. They've been doing it for years. The ghost adventure guys. And now with the scientific end of it, we can validate exactly what you said. You felt it on your body, and then to validate it showed up. The same with the millimeter. And unfortunately, Ginger was too far from you at the time. But usually, when we have people feel something, we'll put the millimeter, which has EMF, also an antenna on it. And if it spikes, you've got EMF next to you. You've got a spirit next to you. You've got energy. So this is the reason that we do this, is to not only explain the metaphysical side of it, because I use stones and protection oil and all that, but to explain the scientific part of it, that it actually can validate what we're feeling, you know. That's why we use these things. This is why these guys make this stuff. This is like, because otherwise, let's say you're just a regular investigator, but you're not a sensitive, you're not a clairvoyant, you're not a medium, you're not psychic, you're just plain old guy just checking it out, wanting to communicate. So you're going to rely on that piece of equipment to make that connection and to communicate with them. What I found out with a lot of people that investigate, the more they do it, the more their talents finally come out. And
Yeah.
they can start communicating in different areas, and don't have to rely on the equipment. But that's
Well,
why it's there.
intuition is a muscle. Okay. So if you think that we just wake up one day and we have it, no. I practice what I do. I do the work on myself. I do it on my clients. I go in there and just for fun and practice. And LeeAnna doesn't tell you, she doesn't consider herself intuitive. She is sensitive, but she is intuitive. But because she's out there doing this work, her intuition is picking up even further. And I know I've shared this with you privately, but I just got to tell everybody that I've never met somebody who talks to spirit the way LeeAnna does. And I've met a lot of people that talk to spirit. So I found it so fun and so interesting and so relatable, because she was talking to an old friend. She was talking to somebody in distress on the side of the road, kind of thing, trying to help them. A lot of people, think, oh, it's a ghost, it's a spirit, they must be all reverend and this and that. But to watch LeeAnna and her natural rapport with the spirits was so good. Are you just an inquisitive person by nature? Are you just a helper by nature? Like, how do you think you develop that skill?
Well, I'm definitely a caregiver, always
Yeah.
have been. I raised a terminally ill child who has cystic fibrosis, and he's 34 now, and he's doing great. I've got that not maturing,
Nurturing.
nurturing.
Yes,
Sorry about
nurturing.
that.
No, no, that's okay.
Nurturing part of me. And because of where I started in Colorado with so many children in this, I mean, back in the 1800s, these kids you'd have like families of 6, 7, 8, 12, and one kid would get scarlet fever and take 5 kids with them. So the cemeteries up there are family plots, and you've got these kids that are babies all the way up to, teenagers that died all at the same time. If you could imagine being a parent and losing half your family and your
Yeah,
children.
right.
I mean, heartbreaking. Because of scarlet fever, because back then we had all these epidemics and they didn't know what to do. So you had these kids that are hanging out. And I think being a female too,
And a mother.
and a mother,
Right.
they can relate to me and they don't feel me threatened. On the same token, I can tell you that there are nasty spirits in that town too. There's 3 of them. And if anybody, and we'll talk about this later, the one show that I did on the bio channel was actually one of my investigations we had done like 2 years previously. They wanted to see footage, and they picked that one of all ones that, I didn't really want it to show the world. But my teammate was being attacked by something we couldn't see over and over and over and over. And that's when Mama Bear comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I need to protect my girls, and I stand up to the spirits. I don't care how bad they are. My anger and my protectiveness comes out.
She's got a big energy, trust me. Yeah. Well, I could see they would go running with their tails between
When I
their
get mad, yeah.
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 Uh-huh.
So I think I've got two sides to where I know who I'm dealing with. If I'm going into a location and somebody's been scratching children or hurting people or breaking things or throwing things, I'm going to not be that sweet person from the get-go, because I want them to know I mean business and we're here to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't accept that. I won't accept them doing that to me, my teammates, or the people that live there. So I kind of set the tone to how I'm going to relate to this spirit, because I might be looking to try to find out why this spirit's hurting people, and then there's a little kid that shows up, and I don't want that child to be afraid of me, because for all I know, they're being tortured by this spirit and not allowed to leave. We find a lot of spirits are trapped because
Right.
something there is taking over them. They're in the schoolhouse. It was a schoolhouse, but it's a museum in Colorado. And I know them all so well. In fact, when we were there the other night in Tarpon, some of my spirits that can travel showed up, which was cool for me.
I thought that was fun. I was
Yeah,
like, she's like, oh, guess who's here? And they
yeah,
said their names and it came on the meter
yeah.
too.
And I wish I could have
Jim was
talked to
there.
them more, but we were trying to find out what was going on there. So hopefully they'll show up again sometime. But so I always tell them when I come in, I mean no disrespect. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to alienate you. I'm not here to exploit you. I'm here to talk. I want to hear your story. Tell me what's going on. Why are you here? What can I do to help?
So you have a basic way of helping them, but you do gather the story beforehand so you know what you're walking into, and to kind of tailor your approach based upon what entity, what spirit, I shouldn't say, what
Well, yeah.
spirit you think it is. Okay, that makes
in,
sense.
in like historical places, I always do the history first. I find out what has happened in this location, and not just activity that people have experienced. I want to know who lived
The
here.
land, right? The
Yeah, the
land
land,
itself.
if somebody died here, if someone committed suicide, what the history of the building is. And then I talk to the people who are there and have had, just like I did that night, I interviewed all of you because I wanted to know your story and what you've experienced. Because later on down the line, if that same thing happens, we can validate that for you,
Right.
that you weren't crazy.
I'm
Also,
crazy, but not for that reason. That's okay.
but that's why I don't like to just come into a place cold, although I do. I mean, I go to
Right.
places just walking around, and I see a place
I'm
and
sure you get pulled in,
yeah,
like,
I do.
oh yeah.
And there's
Um,
a reason for that. That
oh,
spirit knows that I know,
well,
so.
yeah, they know someone can help them. They've been waiting hundreds of years for someone to come along to help them. Like, how grateful would you be if you were a spirit sitting there for 1,000 years, like, somebody save me, help me save myself. So yeah.
Well, and that's true. And that one piece of equipment that I have, it has a database of 2,500 words. It's called an Ovulus. It was built by Bill Chappell. And what happens is when these spirits, oh my God, they can hear me. Oh my God, they, even though I don't hear his voice, unless I use a different piece of equipment that we have too. It's a hacked radio. It's called a spirit box, and you can pick up their actual voice if you can do it. With the Ovulus, they can put their energy in and say, and pick a word out that they're trying to say.
And I heard this happened, and
Yeah,
it was not random words, it was answering the questions. And we did have a validating experience that could not in a million years be random.
right. And I mean, and there's words that come out that spit out that I just discount. If
Yeah.
it's not relevant to the questions I'm asking, I just discount it. But what happens is, you try to piece together the words to tell the story. I'm really good at the Ovilus, and the spirits in Colorado love the Ovilus. That was their go-to. So what happens is when you've got spirits that have not had anyone ever come in and talk to them,
Right.
woo-hoo, they can hear me. I'm gonna go, and then you got them all coming at one time, and then that overloads the Ovilus. And I was telling you guys that the guy who makes it says that doesn't happen. It happens to me all the time,
Right.
where
Right.
it overloads it and it says 6,500, because it has a power indicator of how
Right.
strong that spirit is. Because I have an older Ovilus. It just fries it. It's like too much. So I have to shut it down and put it back on. But that's true. Does anybody, and I'm sure people have seen the movie The Ghost with Patrick Swayze. That is so true. Remember when he goes to talk to the Whoopi Goldberg, who's the medium, and she can hear him, and he's like, "What? You can hear me?" And
True. Yeah.
and he's
Right.
like
Right.
going nuts on her because he's like, "Oh my God, someone can hear me." If you can imagine people in the paranormal field that can hear spirits. My one teammate, she passed, God bless her soul, but she could hear them. And there's a lot of people that are in the mediumship like you who can pick up things also. They might not be investigators, but they can hear. I mean, people
Mm-hmm.
that communicate with your dead loved ones, your deceased loved ones, and try
Mm-hmm.
to communicate with them for you. It just goes across the board in this realm. So here you got a spirit that's like, oh my God, I've been here all by myself, and here's somebody. So what people need to realize, these are spirits, these are people. This is your grandma, this is your uncle, this is your aunt, this is your child that passed. These were people. If they didn't go on, they're still the same person they were when they died. Okay, nothing's changed. They haven't gone to the light. They haven't seen the love and
Right.
felt the love. They're just here. They haven't gone anywhere. So you need to be respectful. And that's why I have a really hard time with paranormal investigators that provoke and go in with a chip on their shoulder, and they're so
Right.
disrespectful. It's sickening. And that's
No.
why I try to protect my spirits, and I did for a long time in Colorado. I didn't like other teams coming in unless I knew them and I knew
Right.
what they were
It
about.
disrupts the energy too. And if, it's like any relationship, you worked at developing. I could tell by the way she speaks and talks during the sessions with the spirits, with the people on the other side of the spirit moniker things. But you develop this rapport with them, and then you got someone else that comes in and is just a troublemaker,
Yep.
then they're not going to trust you either. Oh, you're
Right.
just like that guy. You're like, no, 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 I'm one of the good ones, I promise. But I can imagine, like any relationship, when it's brand new, it could go awry.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
do you have a story that warms your heart every time you think about it? Is there like one of these like really happy stories?
Yes.
Yeah, I love happy stories. And then they found love. No.
Well, we were in one of the casinos, and back in the day, it was a brothel. Because what they've done in this town is called Central City. It's old buildings that went through the mining period, but it's always been a crazy town. Okay, so you had the brothels and you had the bars, and it really hasn't changed. It's casinos now and bars and all this.
Same energy.
Yeah, so you have that type of energy, exactly. And we were upstairs, and my teammate kept on someone was pulling on her, tugging on her pants.
Mhm.
She's like, what the heck? And we had heard that there was a little boy that used to float around there, and that whenever they blew up balloons, he would pop them. So they started blowing up red balloons, and he would leave the red balloons alone. And they would find these balloons all over and this is a big building. I mean, this is a
Okay.
three or four story building, different levels, and they would find it everywhere. And how the heck did this balloon float from one level to the other? So I said to her, I wonder if it's one of the kids. I wonder if. So I started talking to them, and I had my equipment, and it was a little boy. And so I went in my car, because sometimes I bring toys for the kids there. I leave them for him to play with. And I had this red ball, those plastic balls and
Right.
playground balls. And I left it there for him. And I said, this is yours. You can play with it. And I got a hold of the gals after we did that investigation, the people that work there, and they said they found that ball everywhere.
Oh my
It's all
goodness. He's
over.
like, thank goodness I could not kick the balloon. I couldn't hit it. It just floated.
So I had told him, I said, because he wanted to be back with his mom. And we found out that his mom was one of the prostitutes, and she would, those prostitutes would put their kids in this big closet to play because they were working and they
Hmm.
didn't have daycare. So they would be with working with their Johns or whatever, and these kids couldn't see all that, so they would have
Right.
this one area, and that's where we found him, right by that closet upstairs in his kitchen. It was their kitchen now, but back then, who knows what it was. And so I promised him, I said, honey, I'm going to come back. I'm going to bring somebody back with me to help you to go home to your mommy. I
Oh,
promise you I will do this. And that's when I met the angel reader there. And she had, she did her readings out of 2 or 3 doors down in another area,
hmm,
which was not a casino. It was a, like a thrift store, crafts kind of place. And she had
right.
a room up there. And so I met her then and I said, would you come over to Doc Holiday's and help me, help this little boy? And she agreed to do that. So we came back at a later date, and I've got this on our YouTube channel. He brought us into, there was like a stage area, and we were sitting on stage, and if you look closely you can see the energy orbs shooting around her. It wasn't dust. You
Right.
see it. And she called down Archangel Michael and Jesus and crossed a little boy, and it was tear jerking. Unfortunately, I had one teammate that was really into, I didn't know this, she was more into the dark side, and that's
Mhm.
hard too. You got to really vet these people. And she just sat there and laughed about the whole thing. She ended up being a very
Oh,
nasty, nasty person, and screwed me
yeah.
over.
Wow.
But I've got this on tape, and she explained exactly when the little, because he was scared to go. So
Hmm.
I started talking to him, and she said, "LeeAnna, he trusts you. Keep on talking to him and tell him to come."
Oh, yeah. And I mean, LeeAnna really does build a relationship with these spirits, with these people that behind the spirits. And I think it's because she sees them as a full person, as a full story, not just a ghost stuck somewhere. And she really wants to help them. So she develops this rapport and has this relationship, and it was just beautiful to watch. It really was. I mean, because it was more than investigative reporting. It
Yeah.
was a caring conversation. It was almost like an emergency room attendant or nurse, when that nice nurse comes in and she's rubbing on your shoulder. You'll be okay, honey. What do you need? Okay, I'll get you some pain pills. I'll get you. So that's what she does for the spirit. So it was very beautiful to watch that, really.
And that's just the way I've always been. And when because it used to be, I always had 3 girls. Um, and one by one they would drop off. Some of them just were into the wrong thing that I needed them to be into. And then I had a husband and wife team that used to come to my events in Central City every year, and we built a rapport. And oh, it stunk because we did some investigations and they moved to Tennessee. So um, I'm now here in Florida.
Starting the new band?
I know, and it is hard because I've been backstabbed a lot in this realm, because I'm telling you, some people in the paranormal field are so mean to each other. And this is across the country, because they're
Yeah.
all in competition. It's a competition. They're all in competition for an area to say this is their area.
Okay.
And I get that, because I felt the same way, but mine was because I was protecting my spirits.
I
It
was
had
just going to
nothing.
say, you would be that way, I would believe, because of the rapport and the relationship. And it's like, not inviting the crazy, crazy third cousins for your intimate dinner because they're going to just act crazy and they're going to mess up the intimate dinner. Um, and just because people are into the ghost or spirit investigations or into mediums or into Reiki or healing does not mean that they don't still have human elements to them that are not fully evolved, right? So even in the spiritual side, doing healing work, it amazes me how many spiritual healers can be backstabbing each other.
Yes, yes.
So I just feel like that, yes, that's going to always be in society. And then it's our jobs to start aligning and really stop believing that people are their best point.
I
If
know.
they say who they are, accept them for who they are. They can change, they can grow, but um I kind of put that back on myself if I've ever gotten into that. Some people are tricky, I'm not saying that, but overall it's because I wanted you to have this because I saw that little glimmer in there, and then I put my full faith. So yeah, I feel like in the spiritual world and in the paranormal side, the investigative side, there's enough for all of us. It's like seriously. Yes, I can understand you want your territory, but it's even like in the spiritual side, I'm like, there's plenty of people in this world. I think there's plenty of spirits in this world too for all of them. So people should work together instead of, at against
I
each
wish
other.
it was that easy.
I
Unfortunately,
know
it's
too. I know.
not,
I
you
try to
know.
be the change I desire in the world, but I
Yeah,
do understand you still got to protect yourself from the bad,
reality. Yes.
from
Well,
reality. Yeah.
what I want to say is, and this is my take on it, you're dealing with people who are around anything, demonic, good, bad, the ugly. If you don't protect yourself and you don't go in with the intention of protection, I know a lot of these paranormal investigators become very ill
Mhm.
because of the spirits. They end up with a lot of most of us have problems. We have health issues because of what we do. And that's because we're picking up on whatever is around us, or if we become oppressed, we end up with an attachment. Um, I think there's a lot of teams out there that don't believe in protection, and their intention is to find the bad stuff because they want to emulate what they see on TV, the demonic thing. A lot of these shows are for ratings. They want the demonic stuff to be
Mhm,
out there.
mhm. That's not something you want to play with. That's just not something you want to play with.
Um,
You need to know what you're doing. Just like I wouldn't suggest somebody that doesn't know how to properly do it to try to do a past life regression. Same thing, don't mess with stuff you don't know. Learn how to do it properly. And I
well,
think that's also why spiritual stuff gets a bad name because
yes.
there's 70,000 different versions of it. And if it's not pure and if it's not protected and from the right place, then people can get a bad taste. So yeah, I do agree with you 100% that, protection and but also aligning yourself. If someone keeps showing you who they are, believe them.
Yeah, I know. You don't want to believe them, but you have to.
No, but reality is reality sometimes.
So we have these teams that go out there and they don't believe in the protection oil. They don't believe
Mhm.
in black tourmaline. I wear black tourmaline bracelets, necklace. I have a protection pouch with various different stones in it. Go to your metaphysical store, talk to someone who knows what stones do what and what you need. Don't go in there blindly. Use protection oil. A lot of these metaphysical places also have protection oil. You can go to, there's a gal out in, she's an investigator also out in, at the airport, flea market in down Highway 41 in, Brooksville. She makes her own oils. Talk to people.
Yep.
Google it. Get something on you and do a prayer before you go in. Your whole team. I do a protection prayer. I
Mhm.
ask for a white light of protection. I ask for Archangel Michael's protection against
Mhm.
negativity. Allow me to make contact with the spirits. Allow me to communicate with the spirits, but do not allow them to take me. Do not
Mhm.
allow
Mhm.
attachments. So you have to be proactive in that respect. And there's a lot of people that don't want to believe that, and they bring these things home and they wonder why these teams are fighting amongst each other
Right.
and backstabbing each other. And you always have that, nasty person, always, and mine have all been women. They long story short, these women hurt me and then all got together to investigate together to hurt me. That's how sick this can be. So you have a lot of vindictiveness, you have a lot of negativity, you have just people that are downright nasty. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that these spirits are now a part of them, or,
She,
change
yeah,
their demeanor,
yeah,
um,
right. There is something to be said for, people do get attachments, you can get implants, you can get all kinds of nasty stuff. So
yeah,
I wouldn't ever do it on my own without a trained person. Just like I wouldn't do a past life regression if I wasn't
right.
trained. Same kind of thing. Um, just very interesting. I was amazed, intrigued, and totally enthralled with everything LeeAnna did. I never felt unsafe. I didn't feel it was, what is the word, for like trying to take advantage of the ghost, spirits.
I wasn't exploiting them.
Exploiting, thank you. Yeah, that was the word. She wasn't exploiting them. Nothing was sensationalized. It was all factual, spiritual. And I felt, as a guest on this event with her, I felt very well protected. I forgot to be scared. I forgot to be scared.
Well,
And
and I don't
no, but
put
I
that
mean
out
about,
there.
yeah,
No.
no, she didn't. And that's what I mean. So I can be a bit of a scaredy cat. I'm very brave, but then I get that little like, oh, but I never felt that way when I was under her protection. And so, yeah, I just say don't play with it if you don't know what you're doing. Throw those dang Ouija boards out, get some protection. If you think you have a spirit in your home or business, you can do some things on your own to help release it. I don't know if people talk about that at all, if you feel that that's valid. I know you
Um,
usually need somebody else, but
yeah. When people that have called me, and they can call me and tell me, I have my
mhm,
card and I'm online and Facebook, I have my phone number. As long as you're being genuine, there are people that are just looking to be
yeah,
on television because I've been on TV. But if you're serious about it and you need some advice, I can steer you to people that can help you, because
yeah,
there's certain things I can't do.
right.
You know, if there's a negative energy in your house and you need either a man of the cloth or a shaman or a good cleanser, I'm not going to tell you that I can do that. I can
Right.
try to help those spirits cross if they ask,
Mhm.
but as far as trying to protect you against something we can't see, I'm not your person. Um, I can validate that you have stuff happening, but
Mhm.
that's about it. You already know there's stuff happening. You know what you've experienced. Sometimes also I tell people, if you're not being scratched, if you're coinciding with the spirit and you're living in the same realm together in the same space and nobody's getting hurt, and there's no harm to any of you in your family or whoever's living there, you don't need me there to stir anything up. Not that I'm going to stir anything bad up, but sometimes once they know that you can hear them and see them, that's when the activity starts. And then sometimes it can turn bad.
You get uncomfortable and dangerous, then I would assume.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so I question them. I say, do you really want me to come? Do you really, if everything's cool, let it be.
Mm.
I do tell people if they do want to do any kind of investigating, I don't like doing investigating in my own home because I don't want to bring anything in.
Right.
So that there too, that can be dangerous also. But a lot of people think that might be their grandfather or grandmother. They feel fine, but they just want to talk to them. If they feel comfortable doing that, I would say your first thing is to get a digital recorder. You can get one at Walmart online, and set it down or hold it and have a conversation, and then later on play it with your earbuds. Always put earbuds on so you can hear, because when they're going through the different veils, the layers, um, their voice might be strong when they're talking, but by the time it gets to where we're at, it's whispers. So you have to really be in tune with what you're hearing. You know, I've done it so long, I can pick out stuff when I hear
Right.
EVP or not. But you know, you can try to communicate that way. That would probably be my advice to beginners. Other than that, I would do your due diligence to try to find a team and research them.
Seek professional help and do your research.
Yes, for sure. But if you're looking for an investigator, I would always watch, you know, almost everybody has videos out now of their actual investigations, you know, or their evidence. See how they act. You know, when I was on one of the shows, the other team, the guy was just nasty. He was telling the spirit, I command you to talk to me. Who are you to say that to anybody? You're on
Right.
a ship with people that gave their lives up and you're being Mr. Macho. I mean, that's just, I have no
Right.
tolerance for that.
Those
But
are good points. Yeah, that's good advice. Because like I said, when I saw you and the way you talked, it warmed my heart because it wasn't just to be nosy and find the story. She was trying to help them. And so that's the part that I really felt. Do you
and
have
that's
any
different. A
do
lot
you
of
have anything exciting coming up? Any hunts coming up?
Well, I'm trying to get my feet wet in a different area now.
Okay.
I am part of a new show called True Ghost Stories. It's 12 teams from around the world. We have like Team Spain, we have Team England, we've got Scotland, I believe, or is it Ireland, one or the other, and teams from different states. And I was Team Colorado with what airs. If you go on redcoraluniverse.com, it's a streaming channel. You can watch it for free. We have different streaming channels like Facet TV. There's a couple other, I don't remember all the names of them, that you can actually, it's like $2.50. And I think you can actually DVR it and keep it, what have you. And I did True Ghost Stories, or excuse me, that's the one that's going on now. I did the Travel Channel Paranormal Challenge, which you can watch on Google. If you Google the USS Hornet, I was a lot heavier then, so it's still me. I kind of got screwed on that deal, unfortunately, because the guy who runs it really never let the women win. None of the teams that participated did any of the women win. Long story, but
That's
they
not going
edited.
to work in today's world. Make
No,
sure
but
he
he did
knows. Yeah,
it.
right, right. We don't go for misogyny anymore. He doesn't understand that. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
I think that's the right
And the
word.
problem is with TV shows, and why I like True Ghost Stories, is it's our actual. I mean, I did the one investigation you're going to see was done maybe 7 years ago.
I was
This
going to
is
say, they
stuff that,
take a long time between, they collect a lot of facts and everything. So it's
well,
a,
not only that, it took that long for us to get this finally to stream, to find
right.
a production company that wanted it. And we don't have somebody doing our editing like a production company where they can manipulate what they want, which you see on TV a lot, where you don't even know what's going to happen until you see the edited version. This are our actual
Mhm.
teams, and not the fluff, and not the you know production, the big scale production, you know, that these places have and how TV has. So this is like mainstream Joe Blow off the street investigative work. It's not
Kind
something
of like my podcast. Not
I
a
wouldn't
big
say
production team,
that.
just gone on the road. But yeah.
So, and you'll see the difference in that from if anyone watches the shows. But look for True Ghost Stories if you want to see
I
real
will.
stuff.
My husband is a true ghost aficionado. He loves it. Now he says he doesn't believe, but I catch him watching it every
He
week.
believes.
He's got it DVR'd and everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah, I laugh, but
And then if you go on our Facebook page, my team's called Spirit Realm Investigative Project. Spirit Realm Investigative Project. SRIP for short. That's the abbreviation. My YouTube channel is SRIP3 if you want to see some of our videos.
and
Um,
I'll put some links in
okay.
with the copy of this. So if you
Okay.
want to find, you can go ahead and click on it and subscribe over there to watch her videos.
And if you go on Facebook, search Spirit Realm Investigative Project, and the first pinned video was our part of my ghost story. There was four different stories, and we were one of them. So you can watch what happened.
Cool.
This isn't the one when she was attacked. This was another not so nice guy that we ran into. But it talks about attachments, real life that happened to one of the gentlemen that worked in the building. So you can just go on my Facebook page and you can watch it,
Perfect.
check it out. So other than that, I've been in a couple books. One's called America's Most Haunted, and it's about the Stanley Hotel, that I had something happen to me there. And then I'm in various magazines and stuff like that, and newspapers.
She's been doing this for a while. Like I said, she's
Yeah.
top notch. Okay. So if you want to look further at her show, at her different Facebook sites and the different stuff, become more familiar, learn a little about it. I will make sure I have links in all the copy, whether you're watching this on or listening on streaming, watching it on YouTube, catching a partial clip on Facebook. I will make sure I put everything in there. It has been so much fun, and I could talk to LeeAnna all day. We both have no shortage of words. We're good with that. Though we both may be short, we have no shortage of words. So I thank you so much for coming on here today and sharing your beautiful stories and all your information and your energy. It is a beautiful energy, and I feel blessed to have met you.
Me too.
Yeah, and I hope that if people are interested in learning more about paranormal investigations and that kind of thing, that you search it out, learn about it. This is how we normalize spirituality. We have these conversations, we make friends, we share the information. So if you found this podcast interesting, if you liked what LeeAnna was talking about and want to learn more, share the podcast with a friend, share her links with a friend. So that's how we spread the word. So yay. And maybe I will be seeing LeeAnna again sometime
yeah.
in the future. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm very hopeful for that.
Maybe we can make you a team member. Hey.
Oh, she doesn't
Oh.
know how much of a scaredy cat I can be. She saw my brave Dawn face. I was thinking of volunteering my husband if you need a cameraman. No. Well, thank you so very much for your time, your energy, and all your great stories. We really appreciate having you here.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Thanks. It was a good time.
Thank you.